I'm finally hydrated and ready to record! How's it going, guys? Today we're going to be talking about those Shin Megami Tensei games that I literally will never shut up about. I know it's been a while since I've uploaded, but I got something kind of special in the works, and that's taking a little bit of time. So I decided to throw together very hastily a tier list video, because good Lord knows the internet needs more of those. In all seriousness though, I've always wanted to have a video where I talk about the Shin Megami Tensei franchise in great detail because I'm a really big fan, I love almost all the games, and you know what, today seemed like a good day. But before we begin, I just want to say, straight off the bat, I want you to challenge my opinions. A lot of my experiences with these games are going to be biased, and I want you to share your own experiences and really challenge my list, and I encourage you to make your own. I'm going to leave a link. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Just don't take it too personally. There will be some spoilers, but the first thing we gotta talk about is every Shin Megami Tensei game that has been released, you can not reasonably play. A lot of these are not in English, and a lot of these are just so rare and obscure, you ain't gonna be playing them anytime soon. So, okay, so Shin Megami Tensei 9. Not actually the 9th game in the series, it's an Xbox original. It is only released in Japan, but someone did kind of translate like the whole script of the game. I ain't never played it. Too much work for me. Let's next put in SMT If. This is a game you can play. There is a fan's translation, but I didn't check that out. Just haven't gotten around to it yet. But that is there for those SMT diehard fans. Next up, Strange Journey Redux for 3DS. I have played a little bit of it, but I've not completed it, so I do not want to even place it anywhere on this tier list, because that ain't fair. Devil Summoner for Sega Saturn. I believe also there's like a fan translation. I've not checked that out. I actually have that game just because I like the box art of it. Is that it? Oh yeah, Jack Bros. Where the Cruz Jack Bros? Crap. I actually found this game at a local game shop, and wow, it was $2,000. Too rich for my blood, so it's going in there. Is there one that I missed? Yes. Shin Megami Tensei Imagine was a MMO in like the mid-2000s. The servers are dead. You literally cannot play this anymore, at least in the capacity that it was designed to be played. So, with that being said, now we can get into the bulk of the English SMT games. Where the crud do I start? I guess at the beginning, so let's go Shin Megami Tensei 1 in 1992 or 1994. I don't honestly remember. I'm gonna put that in C tier. Here's why. This is a game I think you can legitimately go back and enjoy nowadays, and get a lot out of it. It's kind of a unique game in the sense that a lot of the games in the series happen after a cataclysm or apocalypse has occurred in, the world. But in this game, you experience that apocalypse happening in real time. You literally go on an errand for your mom and you notice, oh my gosh, the world's like ending, what the crud. That's very surreal and it translates very well. The gameplay, not that great. The bugs are an issue, but they're kind of like a good issue. Like, I don't know, it's that right level of jankiness where you're like, this glitch and oversight was beneficial. I can't really complain about it. So, I kind of got to put it in the middle. They definitely learned a lot since back in the 90s. But, moving on to the next game. I just saw it straight away. A game I do not enjoy nearly as much. Wait, I just lost it. Crap. The sequel. Shin Megami Tensei 2 is going in D tier for me, and here is why. While Shin Megami Tensei 1 was this game where you were literally a nobody who just happened to, like, will himself into surviving the apocalypse, right? Not really a thing in SMT 2. You're, this very privileged individual, and this game straight up has one of the most unfortunate opening segments in any RPG I've ever played from that era. You basically do simulations to emulate actual physical training, which is somewhat tedious, but you have to do that simulation like 4 times, and it's like, wait, is this the whole game? Like, some people might turn it off right there, but unlike the first game, the apocalypse has already happened, and not nearly as interesting setting-wise, I feel, and a lot of the game is just doing errands and backtracking, and then at the end you go kill God. I just really didn't get a lot out of this experience, and I'm starting to realize if we mini-review every single one of these games, we will be here till the end of times. So, I prefer the first game, but there are some improvements there for those who are curious. I guess we'll just do all the SMT games and like kind of lump them together in this strange list that I'm doing, but let's go with Nocturne, which is a game I've played very recently. I came into it with very high like praise because I was like, oh my gosh, I have a poster of it like right over there. I don't know if you can tell. I like this game. The first time I played it, I thought it was awesome. I came back later. I think we played it literally last year on the channel. Did not have as great of an opinion of it, but it is still one of the best games the franchise has ever had. So I'm going to put it in A tier, and here's why it's not higher. And a lot of people are like, dump, dude, it's Nocturne, it has Dante in it. And that is true. However, the game has a lot of high points, has many bosses, a lot of them are very creative and very fun, so I definitely give it high praise for that. The setting, the story, the atmosphere could not be higher, but some of the low points are very low for me. Getting through all those like underground passageways, which are like a fourth of the dungeons, really not fun at all. I really disliked that, but that's still not going to bring it down that much. A lot of the puzzles are also very fun, gathering all the Magatama. It's a very full experience because in the West, you know, we got the enhanced version. I like the game a lot. I just think there are better games that Atlus has produced. So let's move. Oh my gosh, people are going to get so mad. The next SMT game that sort of came after that, I'm going in a very loose order. Let's talk about Strange Journey. So Strange Journey, straight up 2D dungeon crawler, kind of going back to the roots after Nocturne came out, has yet again a very strong setting and a very good premise. I just really disliked the dungeon design they did, and I know I'm going to repeat myself here because this is a lot of the SMT games, right? That final dungeon and like a lot of the dungeons in this game do not feel well designed. They feel like they are artificially difficult and annoying, right? So I gotta put it in B tier. My last memories of this game were not the strongest. I have not played the remake, like I said before, but man, I just really did not like that last sector and that last like final push. And a lot of the story there, while the initial setup is very strong, I feel like it falls flat in a couple of places because it does have 3 different routes, right? And to have all 3 of those different routes be perfectly balanced and perfectly entertaining narrative-wise, that's not going to happen. If I recall correctly, the Law route was by far the weakest, while the Chaos route was actually very exciting and really cool. A lot of the boss fights in this game are kind of rough, and pretty much the solution, at least for me, was just more levels and more grinding because you need a lot of health to survive the enemy attacks of, like, you know, the boss of the sector. They do a lot of AoE damage. I didn't really like that. I would have preferred, like, the Nocturne route where you can use the game mechanics to actually cheese your way through the bosses. I don't feel like that's a thing in Strange Journey, and it actively kind of punishes you at a point for favoring one alignment of demons, because the final boss, you kind of have to use them all. That felt like a giant middle finger to me personally, but has a great, like, everything else, like, super good. A lot of the early game dungeons, I'm like, wow, this is like 10 out of 10. It's just kind of fell flat for me towards the end. Now let's talk about Shin Megami Tensei 4. That's going in S. I think that is on unpopular opinion. I don't care what you think. Shin Megami Tensei 4 is S tier, and here is why. This is one of the finest games Atlus has ever made. Just yet again, the premise. How do they keep doing it? You're in this giant, like, wonderful fantasy world called Mikado, and there's this, like, castle, and, you know, there's gauntlets, right? You're instantly thrown into the setting. 3D dungeon crawling, which is I really like. Just like, that's my bias here. We just gotta talk about that. It's just such a great game. The characterization, the strongest it's ever been, which, you know, not really mandatory for SMT, but the mythos behind this game, the fact that you're on the whole time, you're, you know, there's the big dome, that's where Mikado is, and then under that is real world Tokyo. That blew my mind. The first time I played it, I was like, what the crud? And just, man, the characters are all great. Walter, Jonathan, Izabu, I don't remember how to say her name. Freaking great. I mean, God, I mean, they're almost on par with Persona characters. And Persona, the main appeal is the characters. Like, holy crud, I love this game to death. I will acknowledge some of its shortcomings. There are some pacing issues towards the end where it's just like, you can kind of tell they kind of ran out of time. SMT4, like, the actual, like, story and the full narrative there is huge. They really had a lot to talk about, but man, you're gonna do it all, and it kind of shows a little bit. But The neutral ending also is kind of ridiculous to do. Not a big fan of that, but the chaos and the endings are also fairly fun. I think they pretty much do all that you'd ask of them to do, you know, not really exceeding my expectations, but all around, yeah, just a really solid game. Great boss fights, great music, great environment. DLC kind of sucks. Kind of a shame that the best content is behind a paywall, but what are you gonna do? They gotta make money somehow, I guess. Some people don't like the demon designs of this game. I never really cared about that. I just think this is the most premier and pristine game Atlas has made for SMT all around. Then Apocalypse came out and pooped all over themselves, so let's talk about that. That's in C tier. SMT Apocalypse for Apocalypse is not a sequel per se, but a what-if scenario featuring a brand new protagonist in the same game world, and that sounds great. I was a big fan of that game world, and it even did a lot of cool gameplay changes, like, how do I explain it? All right, I just happen to have a Jack Frost on my desk. So before in SMT 4, right, you would have an ice demon. You could teach him fire magic, and he would do even higher damage than some fire demons. So really great change, because now they've nerfed that. So like your giant ball of fire does more damage with fire attacks, and the ice guy does damage with ice attacks. That is a great change. I hope to see that in SMT 5. Gameplay-wise, great. Narrative-wise, I don't know, man. It just feels like Flynn got super power creeps. They did a lot of changes with the story. Like before, Flynn was just this like nobody who cares. You know, he could literally be any protagonist. But in SMT 4 Final, they kind of had to really rewrite him. He's basically a reincarnation of a character from Tokyo before the apocalypse happened. I did not like that. I would have preferred if Flynn just got to stay his own character without adding new lore to him to kind of make Nanashi feel like the true protagonist of the series. The whole thing with Dagda and his like side mission to destroy all the new deities, which this game does. Oh my god, it remixes the formula, adds the national, wait, what are they called again? I don't remember, but the divine powers, this new like trio of gods comes in to change the story of SMT4. Krishna, Odin, and I believe a Buddha kind of team up to sort of like introduce this neutral threat opposed to law and chaos, which was a lot of fun. But eventually they just kind of all die, and then you gotta go kill Yahweh, which I mean is pretty much a thing in all the SMT games. But here it just felt kind of like, okay, we get it. Nanashi's the most strongest, powerful character ever. He kind of feels like a Marisu at times, sort of, but then again, he does have a god backing him up, so it sort of makes sense. I didn't like everything about this game. Narrative-wise, not as strong. It kind of piggybacks. It reuses way too much content from the base SMT4, in my opinion. And just a couple of those, like, yeah, some of those cutscenes. I did not like the direction they were taking with this. Definitely a giant downgrade. So now that we're kind of done with the base or mainline SMT, let's, I guess, get into some of the spin-offs before we head to Devil Summoner. Let's talk about Devil Survivor. So I'm going to talk about Devil Survivor 2 first, because I just have a lot more to say about this game, and a lot of it applies to Devil Survivor 1, but that's a solid B tier. So here in the West, we got a full dub with the re-release of this game. Devil Survivor 2 Record Breaker has some of my favorite voice actors and actresses in that game. I freaking loved it. A lot of the enhancements, while not like a physical, this is still a DS game carried over and ported to 3DS. There was a lot to actually enhance the production quality of the game, which I really enjoyed. There was also another arc introduced separate from the base game, sort of like also a what if scenario like SMT4 Apocalypse, but I haven't actually checked that out because they're not really, I just had enough. I was like, oh, I'm fine. Don't really want to do the extra content because I already did the bulk of it before. Really, all around, fantastic game. SMT had done a like strategy game before, similar to Fire Emblem with Majin Tensei. Never actually played that because it's not in English, I don't think. And this game blows it out of the water, apparently. Wow, the theming here, not the most unique for SMT, but like, come on, they're not gonna like blow it out of the park every single time. Basically, there are these aliens called the Septilions, or whatever the crap they're called, blowing up Tokyo. You gotta stop them with your cell phones. There's a lot going on in this game. Some could say it's a discount Evangelion in that regard, but no, I think it does stand on its own legs. A really awesome quality of this game is characters can die and permanently not be a part of the story. That is a very underappreciated part of the game. Just this is also kind of spoilers. I didn't know that was a thing because I've been performing very well in the game, but during the climax, there's a scene with Io, like the main girl of the game that you knew in the beginning, and apparently I did something wrong, and she dies a very violent death, and that blew my mind. She was gone for the rest of the story. They had the balls to straight up kill a major character like that. Devil Survivor 2 broke all my expectations, but yet again, there are some like, what the crap are they doing? Moments towards the end. Grinding in this game is arguably one of the worst in SMT history, in my opinion, because man, that final level, they do not want you to beat it. They want you to keep grinding to sort of, I guess, make things more epic. And I try, like, it does feel at times strategy in the strategy RPG does not matter. You just need raw stats, which kind of sucks, but you know, I understand. So I'm gonna put in B tier. I love it to death, but there are some major gripes I have with it in narrative. It doesn't really breach the upper echelon, you know what I mean? Now let's talk about Devil Survivor 1. I have the like DS box art here. It's the same game, like really. When they brought over 3DS, not a lot changed, but the music got a lot better, which is a big point for me. But I do not think it's as good as 2, and I understand this is like a fan favorite game for a lot of people. It was a lot of people's first SMT game, and the whole War of Bell thing really resonates with a lot of people, and I get that, but man, I played Devil Survivor 2 first, so going back to this felt like a giant downgrade, not just like mechanic-wise and like the selection of demons that you got to use. There's just not a whole lot here, and I feel like the consequences are also a lot lower. Narrative-wise, you're in Tokyo, there's like this demon outbreak, and you find out later that there's these things called death clocks. It's pretty neat, but still, like, I was kind of getting sick of the whole Shibuya angle after this was like my 7th Shin Megami Tensei game. I would have preferred something a little bit new. The Belder fight, wow, still really great. That definitely resonated with me. But outside of that one, not a lot. There's not a lot of unique stuff here. You fight Beelzebub, you fight all the bells. That's at least, you know, something kind of cool that they did. But the fights themselves aren't anything really like too difficult or unmanageable. I felt like I was just brute forcing my way through a lot of these. Maybe that's just because I kind of played a lot of the games. I will say this though, the soundtrack is incredibly unique and does not get enough appreciation. Dang, they really went off with this one. Like, the guitar is like really well done, and just all the DS games in that era were really well composed, I gotta say. But I don't think it's really up there compared to like the other games on this list. Let's what else do we got? So I think that's it for Devil Survivor. Is there any other spin-offs I'm missing? Nope. All right, time to go into Devil Summoner. First one I guess we should talk about is Soul Hackers. So I've tried to record this video 2 other times, and both times I've talked in nauseum about this game's quality and done a very poor job, but I think it's definitely a strong B tier. You can play this game today and still have a fun time. It does not overstay its welcome. Originally a Sega Saturn game that they ported to 3DS, and the 3DS version is phenomenal. Amazing dub yet again. I don't know how Atlas was getting the money for that during this time frame, but man, the characterization, you kind of get the feeling that all these elite internet hackers like are friends, and they've been friends a while, and it does that very quickly. The new character they interject, Nemissa, super, like, she's one of the best characters in SMT in my opinion. She just sells this game completely. It would be a D without her. She's just that good. Probably not, but setting wise, it's sort of established itself in this very early understanding of the internet, and it's very hammy in its approach of like, the internet, what's the difference between a magical incantation and HTML code? I don't know if that's a direct quote, but it definitely tries to get that idea across to you, and it does that very well. All the dungeons, not great. That warehouse one, I was like, this is awful. But, you know, the ones after that, pretty darn fun. There's a lot of interesting characters. There's this, like, devil summoner that attacks you, and he controls his demons with a guitar. It's so corny. I love it. I feel like it takes itself seriously at the right times, and at, you know, the times where you want it to not be serious, it does that too. Gosh, I kind of want to play it again. I really like this game, but, it's also kind of short. but I don't think that's a bad thing. The final dungeon, you just kind of like go in there, kick booty, and then you leave. It's also super easy. And sometimes that's not a good thing, and that's definitely not a good thing here. Once you get, like, a certain demon, for me, it was Kardakia, I think. The entire game was over. The AI is also not that great, so you can just kind of face roll through a lot of the game, which is kind of a bummer, but you could do that with the older SMTs as well. Definitely out of the retro SMT games, I'd recommend it the most to new fans, but now that we got that done, let's see, where the crud is? Okay. And this is the part where everybody gets mad at me. Alright, so in short, the full English name of this game is Shin Megami Tensei Raido Kuzunoha versus the Soulless Army. Wait, isn't that Raido Kuzunoha the 14th? I don't remember. So this game is going to C tier. It's going in D tier. I really liked what this game was doing. It's based in a new era for Tokyo. You play as this literally time-traveling detective guy who's sent back in time to make sure nothing bad happens to Tokyo. Guess what happens? A lot of bad stuff happens to Tokyo, and it's your job to stop it. Literally, Rasputin from Russia is a robot. You have to fight him because he can summon demons. You summon demons too, but you only have one at a time, and once you have one really strong demon, there is no incentive to use any others. This is the first game in a long time for SMT where, no, I think this might actually be the first, where it's an action game, something I really enjoy, and an RPG at the same time, but it does not execute well on any of those ideas. In my opinion, it's, gosh, and there's just no way to reduce the encounter rate either. Like, Nocturne had that. Nocturne had a way to lower the encounter rate. To my knowledge, this game does not. I really wish that was a thing, because in this game you do a lot of detective work, and sometimes you gotta go check a clue that was like in another town, and the whole time you're going there, you're getting jumped by demons. By the time you get to the new town, you just freaking forgot what you're supposed to investigate. They really just needed to figure that out. The combat's also kind of repetitive and not really that fun. The sequel, however, definitely enhances a lot of this. This is a strong B tier. All right, here's why. Everything from the past game, they literally enhanced. Like, the characters way better, the music infinitely better, the game looks better. This time you can use 2 demons to fight with. Man, just all around a way better game. The actual mystery in the story that's unfolding, I feel like it kind of hits some of the same notes in a not in a literal sense, like it's a rehash, but it's like, oh wow, this happened, no, demons, you know. It's like, all right, we've been here, we've done this, but that's not like a subtraction. A lot of the new characters, I liked the Devil Summoner girl. She was really cute. That like you kind of sort of team up with. Outside of that though, I can't remember a lot what's going on. Goto, your cat, still great. Your agency manager, he's still cool. All around, just a great game, really. If you like the timepiece and like detective style stuff, you'll like it. Can't really say a lot negative about it, actually, but does it really come across as Nocturne? Not really, in my eyes. Now let's, wow, that's it for Devil Summoner. Holy crud. I guess now let's, before we start the overload of Persona, my god, there's a lot of Persona games on this list. Let's now talk about Digital Devil Saga. So, where do I put this? It's not down there, that's for sure. Yeah, this game's an A tier game all around. So, very unique premise, yet again. How do they keep doing this? The writing is so good in this franchise. I love it. This time, you are the demon. Across all the other SMT games, you teamed up with the demons. Sometimes in the series, your teammates would also become half demon, but no. This time, you're just straight up, you can transform into a demon, and Digital Devil Saga just rocks. Like, really, it changes so many of the conventions of the series for the better. Has a like Final Fantasy X style sphere grid. It's not really that, but it's kind of that. And you literally have to go around and eat demons to survive. This is a game like survival of the fittest. You're in this post-apocalyptic, I think it's called the Junkyard, and you're a part of this like team, and you have to like, you're fighting to survive to achieve Nirvana. When there's this giant like tower in the sky, and whoever like survives can go to heaven. And yeah, when you go to heaven, that's in the sequel though. But all around, such a solid game. Really, just god dang, like, how do they do it? It does hit a lot of the same notes as Nocturne, has the press turn system, but in this game you only have 3 party members, and that really changes things up for the better in my eyes. Just, man, I don't have a lot negative to say about it. That final dungeon sort of sucks a little bit, and I did not like how sometimes, you know, the whole game is based around Hinduism and sort of the belief system and sort of like the characters from that. But then you just fight Cerberus, and I'm like, why? Like, they could have picked like any like Hindu god. There's tons that would have fit that like symbolism there. And they just didn't do it, and that kind of sucked in my eyes. That's gonna sound like a super weak criticism, and it is, but from what I remember, I just really freaking love this game. But it does not come to the like quality of SMT4 narrative-wise. Now let's talk about its direct sequel, because Digital Devil Saga 1 directly feeds into Digital Devil Saga 2, and the whole kind of idea behind the first game was getting to Nirvana with this girl that we find inside the junkyard, and that was your sort of goal, and you achieve that goal, but you find out that heaven sucks because the real world has been consumed by the sun. And that's my main gripe with the game. Apparently the people can't go out in the sun no more, or they will die, basically. They'll turn into like a pillar of salt or whatever. Wow, that kind of sucks. Okay, so I'm putting this in C tier, and this is why. Because the sun is such a like big part of the game, your characters can survive being out in the sun, right? They're fine, but other people, they cannot. So a lot of the story and a lot of the bulk of the game happens indoors, which means every dungeon is basically a gray box. Now, there are some exceptions, yes, but like a lot of the game is just underground and really visually uninteresting. Then, spoiler warning, you go to the sun, and that's the rest of the game. The sun, to me, is 30% of that game, and that's the final dungeon, which, I mean, it just feels like it overstays its welcome a lot. I don't know what's up with Atlas and final dungeons with me personally. Maybe it's like my fault, like I just blast through the game too fast, and by the time I get to that part, I'm kind of burned out. But no, I do feel like quality-wise, not really the hottest there. No pun intended, cause it's the sun, ladies and gentlemen. But another major gripe, and yet again, this is spoilers. I do recommend everybody play this game. Like, sure, the second half is not as good as the first, but first is pretty freaking good. But you are actively punished in this game for using certain characters. Just an example, my homegirl Argilla, she's the bae. She's very great character wise. Definitely, her and Gale are great, and I used them a lot in the first game. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna use the same party in the second game. Big mistake, because in this game, Argilla straight up dies first. And there's no warning of this, so the whole time I was investing points into this character, making sure she was built up, had like her best like attacks and healing properties, only for me to be punished directly because I didn't know she was gonna die. So I had to restart, form a new party completely, which was a lot of grinding, keep in mind, only for the next two characters I was using to also die. So I basically had to completely restart. This is a game that like basically makes you like, oh crud, who's gonna die next? I better level up everybody, which sounds like a cool idea in practice, is not, because there's a lot of grinding in this game. I was not a fan of that. Alternatively though, if someone did not like Argilla, never used her, they're not gonna experience that. So I could see both sides of the story there, but yeah, like, and see, there's some really cool boss fights in there too, which makes me want to put it in B, but it does not compete to like the quality of these other games that I have up there. So now that we've talked about that, let's no, we're still on time. No, still ain't Persona time. Chill out. Let's talk about some of the other spin-offs that I'm not really a big fan of. Hashtag or sharp FE. Shin Megami Tensei Crossfire Emblem is E tier, and I do not understand the people that are like, oh my gosh, please port this game to Switch. It was so much fun. Shut your pie hole. You didn't even play it the first time. So I was really excited for this collaboration. I'm a big fan of Fire Emblem, even bigger fan of Shin Megami Tensei. This sounds like it'd be right up my alley, right? No, wrong. This game focuses around Japanese pop idols in this very odd, sterile environment. The dungeon design here, what the crud? It is literally, there's two types of puzzles in this game. Pull the lever, talk to the person. Oh no, excuse me, there's a third. Go through the right door. Oh, you went through the wrong door. You gotta start back at the maze. This is, I hate talking about this game because I like can feel that the development staff was literally stressed out of their mind because they're dealing with this hardware, which is the Wii U, that wasn't really performing well, and it was kind of getting at the end of its life cycle, so they were like, all right, we got to wrap this puppy up. And wow, not my favorite game. The characters also just do not appeal to me. A lot of it has to do with like Japanese pop idols and the industry, and I just can't really connect with that. And just a lot of the writing's a little odd. There's this one character named Barry, which is like a Westerner, and he has a odd obsession with a younger female character. And I don't like that crap. Stop doing that, Japan. God dang. So that was really frustrating. The final dungeon, yet again, is also like really not that good. I didn't like that. And yeah, just I was glad to be done with it. That's all I can really say about that game. Another sort of recent spin-off. We're not really going in order here with the whole SMT thing. DX2, or as the representative told me to say it, it's called Devil Downloader. And I'm like, nah, it's called DX2, bruh. So this is a mobile game, which first off is a thing I really enjoy. Second off, an SMT game. Those two together, you'd think I love. No, this is going in E tier. This game has a laughably bad story, laughably bad progression, even compared to other mobile games. And it's just a grind. I don't get it. Why would I grind so much and pay actual real-world money to get a demon in a game where there's like a franchise where you can get that same character in literally any of these other games, and it's not going to cost you a dime and would arguably feel more stinking like you achieved something, you know? Man, why are there two Persona 4s? Okay, what the crap? Okay. It does try to do this cool thing where it's like you can get any character in the game as long as you put in the work, which I'm a big fan of. However, 3 months of work for one demon, you gotta be kidding me. And it's very cookie cutter which demons are the best, and it really incentivizes people to like buy instead of work to get the new characters. I really disliked that. I cleared actually all the content in the game, and I just really was like, wow, I wish I did anything else or replayed one of the older SMT games, because it's just not really that great. Like, I couldn't even remotely connect to any of the characters. There's the gun girl, which her whole joke is that she likes guns. The mega tuber, which is a nerd. I want royalties, by the way. I'm just kidding. And Kangaroo Boxer. I was never once convinced that these are real people, and they're all kind of just really strange and stilted. So reading the story, not really that great. The gameplay, it's not really that fun. Some boss fights are a little interesting, but it's really like, oh, grind more, they can beat me, you know? It's not really anything great there. PvP was kind of cool, but no, it can't even compare at all. Really did not enjoy that game, except for like the brief honeymoon period with it, which was kind of fun. And with that, oh, we are almost time for Persona, aka when everyone gets mad at me. But before we do that, let's yeah, that's where she belongs. Catherine is an S tier game. Now, know what you're saying, John. Catherine's not even a Shin Megami Tensei game. Have you lost your mind? And I beg to differ, all right? So this is the thing about Catherine. First off, not a RPG game. All the games we talked about before are basically, or at least half, RPGs. Catherine is a puzzle game that deals with the themes of relationships, adultery, alcohol, and holy crud, it does all of those things so perfectly, and then intertwines this supernatural element which harkens back to the original Shin Megami Tensei games. Holy crud, it is the full package, yo. It is such a great game. Even if you do not like puzzle games at all, you should give it a try. I was not a big puzzle fan. Catherine made me a big puzzle fan because the characters are in there. I wanted to see what happened to them, so I wanted to continue the story, and I wanted to beat that stinking level, and just, it's perfect. It's honestly like, it blows my mind that like the game, it literally just happens in one small room, but the world feels so much larger. The cutscenes are greatly designed. So much suspense happens in this game. It's like watching a soap opera unfold. Story-wise, just holy crud, play Catherine. It is one of my favorite games. I believe it is one of the best games Atlas has ever made. Its shortcomings, very, very minimal. Nothing comes to mind. I love it that much. I encourage everybody to check it out. I know a lot of people are turned off by the over-sexualization of Catherine, the character herself. The game's a lot deeper, no pun intended, than her, okay? So just keep that in mind. But also a billion endings. There's a ton of replay value. Holy crud, I could go on. But now to the part where everyone probably wants my input. the Persona games. So, oh boy, here we go. So here's the thing, right? I'm kind of a big Persona fan. I got like a poster up there. You see it, whatever. I'm not wearing a Persona shirt today. I'm wearing something else. But man, the first Persona game, Revelations Persona in the West. I wasn't going to get the box art for the PSP game. So my opinions are kind of the same. So just kind of lump both games together. I'm sorry, y'all. That's going to be a D tier for me. I didn't like this game that much. Now, I played the PS1 version and then decided to play the PSP version later. For those who aren't aware, PS1 version, very gutted here in the West. All the characters have been westernized, so to speak. But I still think it does a pretty good job of setting up its characters. There's some grammatical errors. I'm not going to dock points for that. What I will dock points for is the level design is very, very tedious. And just not that great. I forget what the dungeon is called, but it's like the U Pagoda or something. I was like, this place sucks. Also, fusing 5 personas for your 5 characters, super tedious. They still didn't learn their lesson. We're gonna talk about that a little bit later, though. Narrative-wise, it is kind of cool, though. It sets itself up pretty darn strongly and very quickly, might I add. But man, I'm sorry, like the whole idea of like, oh, you can pick like certain characters to be in your route, that is good in practice, but man, the other games in the series definitely benefit from having a consistent cast. You could argue there's replay value though. It's like, oh, you can use this character in your team comp, but like a lot of the like 5th characters, so to speak, don't really get a lot of time to shine, I feel, once you put them in their routes. That does change in the Snow Queen quest a little bit, but I can't tell what part of that is because of the PSP Enhanced Edition, which not a big fan of the PSP version all around. The battles, way too frequent, and I think are they higher than in the PS1 version? I honestly don't remember, but I want to say that they are. The soundtrack also had a noticeable downgrade. The new movies were nice, but Persona 1, to me, not a bad game. Like, keep in mind, all these games I've listed, except probably E tier, way better than their competitors, just baseline in my eyes. So me putting Persona 1 in D, it just goes to show how far the like franchise has evolved over the years. Now, let's make everybody mad by talking about Eternal Punishment and Innocent Sin. Some people consider Eternal Punishment to be the better game. I actually do not. So, Innocent Sin, I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna put it in B for right now, then I'll think about it a little more. So, this game's grindy, and the bosses are not fun. Never once in this game did I think I outsmarted the boss or beat its boss mechanics. I just had more levels and like steamrolled them. Maybe I just played the game wrong, but man, this game, gameplay-wise, holy crud. At times I was like, they did better in Persona 1, what the crud? And what's it called? Soul Hackers wasn't that long ago. I'm pretty sure this game came out, like, not in the 2000s, but kind of like nearer, right? It was like 1990. I'm pretty sure it was 1998 or 99. What the crud? But story-wise, one of the best Atlases has ever crafted. It is a duology, so like, you know, this is a part of it, right? But man, just the setting, straight up incorporating rumors and having that is one of the coolest gameplay mechanics in S&T in my eyes. They're still trying to outdo what I feel a little bit, but really just speaks volume about like what high school's actually like. As a high schooler, like playing that during that time, I was like, holy crud, this is actually going on. And just the story gets like absolutely crazy, and I love that. I don't think it gets ridiculous like some people say, but yeah, I'm just not a fan at all of that grinding. And the sequel is worse. I feel like the bulk of the game I spent in that bomb shelter literally just grinding to just advance the story, really. Playing as Maya as the protagonist was very cool. She was a character in the first game, but now she's the primary character the second game, and they kind of do this like reverse sort of thing. And a freaking sad game, but man, yet again, I just do not feel like the gameplay holds up. Like the later Persona games, they're good because they are both RPGs, and visual novel, sort of. And crud, I'm gonna get crucified for this, but I honestly think at times this could have been a visual novel and been better. The cast, though, of both Persona 1 or Persona 2, I think is infinitely better. They kind of like complement each other and clash at times, and that is very good. There's a reason people still talk about these characters to this day and get mad when Atlas doesn't bring them up, is because they're all very well written and very beloved, and I think that is justified. But as a gamer, I wish I could actually go in there and code just higher EXP. Maybe that was just because of my playthrough, but, you know, maybe I need to give these games another shot. So, next, let's talk about Persona 3! More like Persona B, because I love this game a lot, and I was one of those people who were like, Persona 4 is a lot better, maybe to you normies. But I prefer Persona 3. So Persona 3 was the first game that I ever played. I'm very nostalgic for it, or not ever played, but out of SMT. I have a lot of nostalgia for it, a lot of the mechanics I was first introduced in this game, and really just the whole like SMT mythos I was introduced from this release, and I loved it for that. But man, going back and playing it today, holy crud, I would rather do a lot of things. Scaling Tartarus, while sounds like a really cool idea, you know, climbing this tower, you know, one step at a time throughout the days of the year. Cool in practice, but if only they could like kind of mix it up a bit with how they design some of the floors. A lot of the Masters of Tartarus also, like the mini bosses you fight along the way, kind of just dumb. There's like 3 solutions max to beat a handful of them that stick out in my mind, and then you kind of just like power creep a lot of them. There's a definite power spike in the game where you become significantly stronger than a lot of the bosses in the game. Then you get to the end and, you know, the bosses catch up, which I just thought was really odd and not really well designed. There's a lot of ways to just cheese the boss fights also with the Master of Shadows. I don't know what you'd call them, but the bosses you fight when the moon is full. And that felt like kind of a missed opportunity. I would have liked for them to be a little bit more difficult, but narrative-wise, very strong. The characters, not all of them. The main cast, very solid in my eyes. Junpei, you hate him, but you love him. An interesting character who is very jealous of the main character. That makes sense. But some of the supporting cast, like, I don't even remember their names. They're that forgettable, which sounds awful as a guy that loves the Persona series, but I think his name is Mitsuo. I don't even freaking remember. The moon guy, what was his deal? Why was that a character in this game? It brought the whole game down, unless you just completely ignore him, but I'm a completionist. But yeah, just really, they got their crap together with the next Persona games. Also, the answer I'm not too fond of, but I didn't even include that because it's, you know, just additional content. Now let's talk about Persona 4, the game that we thought would never die. It kind of did, but I'm going to put it in S tier. The original Persona 4, in my eyes, is a masterpiece. Pretty much one of the best games Atlas has ever made. First time playing it, I did not think so. I thought Persona 3 was the superior product because Persona 3 deals with the ideology of death, something literally every single person can relate to because we know that we will one day perish. Memento mori. You get it. But Persona 4 deals with this kind of more skewed and acute look on pursuing your true self. What does that mean? What is a true self? And really kind of dives deep into that Jungian side at which the Persona series originates from. And I think it does that masterfully. I didn't think so my first time playing, but when you really dive deep into the characters, wow, such a great game. They also overhauled the gameplay a lot. You still can't control your party members. What's up with that? Well, they did that in Golden, but we'll get it on a second. And just, man, what a boss game. The characters in there, like, they're all straight up great. Not just the main cast, too. Okay, I don't like Teddy that much, but that's, like, the only social link I was kind of on. The Hangman also wasn't, like, my favorite, but like the supporting cast rocks. Like Dojima, great. Nanako, great. Stinking, these social links are amazing. And I feel like it really did a good job in balancing the dungeon RPG aspects and that slice of life stuff, and just the setting's also really cool. Solving a murder mystery, yeah, that's been done before, but it does in a really neat way. To this day, I just cannot believe this was a game they made in such a short amount of time. Then Persona 4 Golden came out, and I don't really like Golden. I don't even feel good about putting it in A tier. I'll be honest with you guys. So, Persona 4 Golden does enhance the base Persona 4 experience a lot. And I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for this. I don't care. This is how I genuinely feel. But when you add too much, it subtracts from your main goal. So, Marie's storyline, I'm just going to come out and say it, I borderline despise. It is incredibly frustrating when there's this new character that is introduced that's like, I hate you guys. You all suck. Oh my gosh, Marie's just the coolest. Isn't she so overly beautiful and way better than me, the character you actually care about? God dang, I cannot stand that. When a author is forced to introduce mechanics into an already complete and concise story, I think that just sucks a lot. And a lot of the stuff I just feel like is fluff. You could argue that, dude, there's a new dungeon. It's totally more content, and that makes it objectively better. I hard disagree. In the base Persona 4 game, you could argue 50-50 on dungeon exploration and RPG mechanics and slice of life. I feel like Golden is 80-20. Maybe it's just because of my most recent playthrough of the game, but there feels like a lot of stuff in this game that's like, we gotta do this because it's a new event and it'll look good in the trailer. Like the concert Rise, big fan. I didn't really feel like that was good to put in the game. What did it add? Not a lot. It's just a fun event with friends. And I know that sounds like a stupid complaint, and it probably is, but I will really feel like it subtracts a lot from like what the main game was supposed to do, which was like, you know, introduce these ideals. And P4 does that great. Golden hits a lot of those same beats, but not as well in my eyes. Also, Marie's bonus dungeon is not fun. Straight up. I think it's not that well designed. Wow. I said a lot of negative about it, but it's still in B. But that's because just the base Persona 4 game is great. And yeah, get mad at me. I know this is a stupid opinion to have, but that's how I feel about it. One character can literally spoil a story that badly for me if I dislike them a lot, and I kind of do. So now on to the sort of Persona spin-off. Oh, we're just going to go rapid fire with these. I know not a lot of people care about these games a lot. I still do. I think they do accomplish a certain goal, and by their own, they are great products and can be enjoyed. But Persona 4 Arena, that's going in A tier. Wait, that is C tier. I cannot read. As badly as it's P4A, it cannot even come close to these other games. Man, I just don't know what the crud they were doing here. I know a lot of people just straight up do not care about story in their fighting games, but I do, and if one is competent, I like that. And while Labrys was a cool and interesting character to add into the Persona 4 lore, when she was off-screen, the game definitely took a nosedive narrative-wise. The whole premise is like it's a battle royale because a robot Jersey girl was kind of sad. Okay, really sad, and I liked that, but like it felt kind of shallow at times. The actual gameplay though, solid. Almost every Persona fan I talk to at least has played or acknowledges that yes, this is a competent fighting game. It does have a brand attached to it, which is the Persona series, but it does its own thing and it does it very well. Can't sing its praises enough, except that I will in Persona 4 Ultimax or U. New characters, a lot of them rebalanced, a lot of them changed. It adds a new shadow system, which had its own kind of problems. This is like sort of a celebration of the Persona franchise, except 1 and 2, up to this point. And I think it's a great game. All around, the new antagonist, Sho Minazuki, as much as some people may dislike him, I think he was a great addition to the series. Really just elevated this game narrative-wise to a whole nother level. Kind of gave Labrys even more screen time, which I really enjoyed because I like her a lot. But still, like, you know, it's a fighting game story. What do you really expect? It's not gonna come up here, you know what I'm saying? And I even feel weird putting it on par with Strange Journey. But no, I still think there's a lot there for you to enjoy, even if you're not that big into Persona. Like, it's just a straight up good fighting game. And I think there's a lot of quality of life changes that definitely solidify its B rank placement. So now let's get everyone really mad again. I do not like Persona Q, the Shadow Labyrinth. that's gonna be a D tier for me. So this was like the game I was most excited about when like Atlus announced, oh my god, we're making all these new Persona games. They're gonna be cool. Persona 3 and Persona 4 in an RPG together. Whoa! And people have talked ad nauseum about how much they dislike this game. I'm not gonna repeat myself there. I do feel like really solid attempts. A lot of the characters though are just parodies of themselves. You're not really gonna get a lot of the characterization you know from the base games because there's so many characters. They could only write so much. I understand that, but it is at times just intolerable. Like Teddy in this game is not Teddy in Persona 4. He is somehow even more aggravating, which blows my mind. The whole like Etrian Odyssey style gameplay I really actually enjoyed, but that fourth dungeon absolutely is awful. I just cannot believe it's that bad. It's like Dungeon 1 had a Alice in Wonderland design, very cool. Number 2 also like fantastic, like great fan service there. And the third dungeon, super sick, like running away from these giant scary monsters legitimately feels terrifying because of the game world, and it does such a good job. Then you get to Dungeon 4 where you're just guiding gourds around, and it's like, what are we doing here? And like firing camp things. What the crud? The story with Zen and Ren, the sort of new characters introduced for this game and this game only, their story was compelling. And in that final dungeon, you sort of like start to reflect, like, wow, I can relate. Or not you, the game player, but the characters from Persona 3 and Persona 4 can relate at parts to those characters. And seeing that interaction was legitimately very good, and I enjoyed that a lot. But just the bulk of the game, like 80% of the game, is kind of frustrating. Not bad, but just kind of frustrating. And that's like so rare for Atlus. I really hope that they learn and took some criticism when we get Persona Q2. But moving on next to, oh boy, everyone gonna get mad at me for this. Persona 4 Dancing All Night, real talk, is one of the best Atlus games ever. So I just gotta reiterate, I don't like Japanese pop idols. This game almost made me give a crap. So it really dives into what these girls are going through, why they're doing this, and you know what type of industry this really is. And I was like, really? Holy crud, that's really interesting. There is some like kind of eye-rolly moments when it's like, the shadows, I gotta defeat them with the power of dance. And it's like, okay, it's like kind of, but I legitimately loved the story. It did not take itself very seriously until the end, where it's still not even that serious. And the gameplay, straight up really good. It's a confident rhythm game, a game people still play to this day. And I think a lot of that is just like Sega's involvement a little bit with it. I think when they were kind of developing it. If I recall correctly, this game was delayed a couple of times just because they did not hold up to the quality of Atlus's, like, you know, products. And I gotta say, they did a good job. I know people are gonna like actually flip out, like, this stupid Japanese dancing game is as good as my Persona 2, and I would say yes, it is legitimately a good game, a well thought out experience, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Not all the music's my cup of tea, yeah, but you know, they try to build it with a broad audience in mind, and I think they did a great job with it all around. Okay, no, actually, Arena is in D, P4U is in C, because I remember there are way too many times in both these Arena games where it's like, oh my gosh, my shadow, I have to fight it, literally, and it's like, holy crap, I can only read that so many times. That feels about right, because yeah, P4U's writing is nowhere as close as P2 and all that, but now let's talk about the other dancing games. Persona 3 Dancing in Moonlight and Persona 5 Dancing in Starlight. Those are going to be a D tier for me, and here's why. The gameplay is mostly the same. However, the presentation value took a giant nosedive. This is definitely like two games that are sold separately, but they really honestly should have been two if you really like break it down. Seeing the Persona 3 characters again was very cool, and seeing some of like the characters that didn't get a lot of limelight in Persona 5, again, I liked that. That was honestly a plus. But there are a lot of PowerPoint presentation songs, which is basically a video is playing and you are mashing your buttons on your PS Vita or whatever. And that's not good. You really shouldn't, like, I can't get into dancing to the ending song if there's not actually a player character dancing along with it. You know, that's kind of what the whole game's about. And a lot of people feel like this game relies too heavily on DLC. I disagree, but I do feel like there's just not a lot of content here compared to P4 dancing, which had a great story, was very long and a well thought out game. This game's not so much. I even like the songs a bit more than in Persona 4, but just cannot even compare remotely. And lastly, the final game on this giant tier list, which, holy crud, we've been doing this for hours, it feels like. Persona 5. I wonder if the guy whose channel's icon, who, like, whole persona, no pun intended, based around this game solely, likes it. Yes, I do. That is an S tier game, and honestly, probably the best game Atlus has made ever. Everything they've learned about RPG mechanics, level design, dungeon design, character design, writing has shown in this experience. It is one of the best games Atlus has ever made, and is definitely the gold standard, which all games will be, or at least Atlus makes, will be held to. Really, I mean, we could put SMT4 like down here just because P5 is that good. But I like P4 or SMT4, so I'll put it up there. But man, God, my major complaint is the game peaks after the first boss, which sounds like a giant complaint, but no, the first arc of this game is legitimately just that great. There's so many tiny things that I didn't even know the first time, like your teacher can come like interrogate you and be rude, which is an unscripted event, which literally scares you and adds to the tension. Just the whole like Jungian side with the Phantom Thieves and what they're doing, and you know, the cognitive dissonance is all grounded in modern day psychology. Kinda. Some people would argue it isn't. But then it sort of becomes like a villain of the week. You know, they have to keep like leveling up the bad guys. Oh, this guy attacked kids. Oh, this guy literally killed people. This guy pooed where you should pee. You know, like it kind of starts to be that. And so there's some speed bumps along the way, like with the character Morgana and Ryuji. That arc is not that great, but it's honestly a 10 out of 10 experience. Really just highlights what is going on in modern day Japan politics, criticizes it, and just crud it. Takes stuff from the real world and interjects it into the mythology and like mythos of how the Phantom Thieves work. I love this game. I will be talking about it for probably another 5 years. It's just that good. And yeah, I guess that's it for my tier list. I imagine I made a lot of people very angry, but I try to give my best just input on how I feel about these games, why I placed certain games where they are, and yeah, I just felt like it was kind of a fun little video to do. This was meant to be filler, but my recording is at an hour now. Oh my god, how am I gonna edit this? But once again, if you got to the very end, I appreciate you so much. I like doing videos like this, but this is more just kind of just filler. I need a little bit of time to get my next Let's Play series up and running, so hope you guys will appreciate this for the time being. Thank you so much, though. I don't even remember where I got this. This has been the mystery. This is what I've been thinking about the whole time. Where did I get this orange? I do not recall. Very strange. Anyways, see you guys next time. Bye.